Now ask yourself, what is the food that makes you cringe? For some people, when they see little bits and pieces of onions inside their pasta, they get squirmish. They start to they take their fork and their knife as if they were chopsticks, as if they were like a scalpel and a syringe of a doctor. They take it and they put it to one side of the plate. They actually do this one by one with the individual onions. Like onions are almost like invisible, and they manage to like find them and take every single one out. It's amazing. It really is an act of surgery. These people should like consider being doctors. There's others who broccoli. They can eat the onions. But broccoli, broccoli's green. Like who would eat? It's like a mushroom. Mushrooms mold. Of course you're not gonna eat a mushroom, but broccoli it's like a plant. Like what is a tree doing in my food? So obviously they separate the broccoli. The broccoli is just like whoop, that's to the side of the plate. Interestingly enough, there's other people that what makes them cringe is unhealthy food. This does happen as well. But this is not as common. This is not as like typical. The typical thing is like onions, like tomatoes. Like some people hate tomatoes. I understand. Okay, I actually do understand. If you're in Ireland, there can be serious reasons to hate tomatoes because the tomatoes can often be like the outside is like a tough skin, and then the inside is just liquid. You could actually put like a straw into the tomato. You can inject a straw and just like drink the inside of it, which would be disgusting. But the tomatoes in Ireland are not the best. I remember one friend actually told me he actually knew about cuisine. He's here in Ireland, and asked him where can you find tomatoes in Ireland, like good ones, like they have in Italy or the ones they have in Spain. Where can you get like good tomatoes here, like in Ireland? He sighed and then said to me, "It's not possible. The only possibility is the canned tomatoes imported from Italy." Which is actually very depressing to think that like the best you can do as far as tomato goes is the canned tomatoes from Italy. So anyway, if someone hates tomatoes in Ireland, that's a little bit more understandable. But nevertheless, this is a bad situation. Even if it's like I know some people that don't eat, like if there's like a Cheeto, like what is a Cheeto? Like a Cheeto, those like puffy things with like the cheese like on. But what are they really? What are they? Those type of things. There's certain people that can't eat a Cheeto. Like they'll have broccoli. They love the broccoli. They love the tomato. They love all the healthy stuff, like high energy, whatever, fiber and like. But a Cheeto? No. The reason I'm saying all this stuff about food, I'm going on and on about this stuff happens, eh? It's like all the time. Anytime you eat with someone, you'll see people like picking out something and like, ooh, I don't want to have this. I don't like that. Even if it's already served them, even if they serve themselves, they'll take those things out. And the reason I'm mentioning this today is because today is the feast of St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. She's very famous for the devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, but in my heart, and I think in the heart of others as well, she's the patron saint of eating what you don't like. She hated cheese. I know people who hate cheese as well. She hated cheese. So cheese is what made her cringe. She made her cringe. And it's interesting, she had already had like revelations from the Sacred Heart of Jesus. She already had like very high experiences of the spiritual life, and she still hated cheese. And to make it more, just to see the dramatic nature of this, when she finally like decided, for love of God, for the good of her own soul, remember that Lazarus in Luke chapter 16, he was told that he dined sumptuously every day, and that's the reason he was in flames. So she probably like thought about that. She's like, yeah, I don't want to be in flames. Like I'd rather like learn to make a sacrifice in food. I think I'd prefer that. That would be better. So she saw that, and she decided, I'm gonna eat the cheese. we're gonna end this battle. I'm gonna eat you. So she literally put herself into a room. She closed herself she locked the door behind herself and her enemy alone. She went into the room, locked the door, put the cheese on one side of the table and put herself on the other side of the table, and they sat down together. It took her 2 hours. It's a pity there wasn't a camera in the room. Can you imagine? You think she went up to it, came up to it, brought her nose close and just sniffed it. she's like thinks about it. She's like, just breathe. It was probably a pretty bloody battle. It must have been an interesting scene. Must have been interesting. Do you think she ate it little by little? Do you think she go for it after she was 2 hours pumping herself up, and then she's like, rah! I don't actually know. God knows. I don't know if we'll do it. Are those things seen in Last Judgment? Do those things come out? Anyway. Just wondering what she's gonna do to me when she hears this homily. Anyway, you can imagine the scene however you want. The truth and the end of the story is that she did eat the cheese. Took her 2 hours, and she ate cheese maybe for one of the first times in her life, for love of God. And it's interesting that she's also the saint that was the saint who promoted, as we said before, the Sacred Heart. That's precisely, we learn to love when we deny ourselves. When you do those little, humanly speaking, they're pathetic sacrifices, but they're really pleasing to God. They're really pleasing to the heart of Jesus, because he knows that from the ashes, precisely those ashes, will come the phoenix. That's when we come back to life, when we learn to deny ourselves, to take up our cross, and follow him, like St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, patron saint of those who take food they don't like. Pray for us.